I grew up with the Donkey Kong Country games and am a huge fan. When Donkey Kong Country Returns came out in 2010, I was super excited to see the franchise revived after nearly a 15-year absence. But I was ultimately pretty disappointed with that game, mostly due to control scheme problems. It was back when every Wii game was obliged to shoehorn in Wii Remote waggling of one kind or another, so Donkey Kong Country Returns forced you to shake the controller every time you wanted to roll. It was just awful. A simple design decision made what would have been an otherwise pretty good platformer nearly unplayable for me. The egregious controller shaking was unforgivable, but I noticed another small problem with Donkey Kong Country Returns. It had a bit of an identity problem. It was a decent platformer with some admittedly pretty good level design, but it didn't feel like a Donkey Kong Country game. Where were the Kremlings? Where were all the animal buddies other than Rambi? Where was the amazing head-rocking music I was used to from previous entries? Sure, it featured Donkey Kong characters, but the soul of the game was stripped away. For a game titled Donkey Kong Country Returns, it didn't feel like the franchise actually had returned. So now on to Tropical Freeze. The first thing it does right is provide support for other control schemes. There is still Wii Remote waggling, but you don't have to do it if you play with either the Wii U gamepad or the Pro Controller. This automatically makes the game much more enjoyable. The game also looks gorgeous in HD. The visuals were always so striking in Donkey Kong Country games, even on the SNES, so it was nice to see some TLC paid to the backgrounds in the artwork. The next thing you'll notice is the soundtrack. David Wise, the main composer of the SNES trilogy of games, has returned to the franchise to pump some soul back into it. I'll talk about him later, but what really made this a Donkey Kong Country game for me was a simple animation. Dixie Kong's falling sliding animation. It's an animation that's rarely ever seen in either Tropical Freeze or the SNES DKC games, but it plays when Dixie is sliding down a surface. She sticks her arms and legs straight up and then flails around in the air. It's a silly animation and it's rarely ever used, but as soon as I saw it, it made me smile. And I had nostalgia for the classic Donkey Kong Country games. It's the little polish developers can apply that make the die-hard fans like myself feel at home in the franchise. No, there's still no Kremlings or animal buddies other than Rambi, but Tropical Freeze is a Donkey Kong Country game. Dixie Kong is back from Donkey Kong 2 and 3, and Cranky Kong is now a playable character. Each Kong has their own special abilities. Diddy retains his jetpack hover from DKC Returns, and now can use it underwater to swim super quickly. Dixie makes Diddy somewhat obsolete with her hair flutter, which carries the player higher and farther in the air than Diddy's jetpack. Cranky Kong, my new favorite Kong, can pogo bounce on enemies and over spikes with his cane a la DuckTales. Choosing which Kong to accompany you on a level is a new interesting decision, as certain levels are tailored to certain Kong's abilities. Each level has been designed perfectly for speedrunning, and platform and enemy placement is done just so blasting through the level at full speed is possible if you have enough skill. Another speedrunner-friendly addition is the inclusion of replays. When you finish a level, you can post your replay online for friends and challengers to see. You can also view the replays of the top speedruns for a given level to see how it was actually possible to complete it in 43 seconds or whatever it is. This was a pretty cool addition. And don't let the cutesy Nintendo mascots fool you. This game is hard, old school hard, and if the normal levels aren't hard enough for you, you can find all of the KONG letters in each world to unlock bonus levels that are obnoxiously hard. I've only been able to finish one of the bonus levels so far, and I'm pretty darn good at this game. This section of the review will be dedicated to acknowledging David Wise, the composer on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, so if you're not interested in hearing about video game music, skip ahead. When I heard David Wise was back to work on the Tropical Freeze soundtrack, I was super pumped. I listened to the soundtrack before playing Tropical Freeze, and this is what got me excited to play it. The original songs on the soundtrack are awesome. Windmill Hills, and Fruity Factory. The remix tracks are awesome too. Current Capers, which is a remix of Donkey Kong Country's Aquatic Ambience, and Twilight Terror, a remix of Donkey Kong Country 2's Sticker Brush Symphony. I actually think I like that cover of Sticker Brush Symphony better than the original. And I love the original. If you like video game music or David Wise's work, I'd encourage you to listen to the whole soundtrack. There's lots of musical variety, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Tropical Freeze is the true return of the Donkey Kong Country franchise. A game with tight controls, excellent level design, striking visuals, and rockin' music are what you'll find here. If you're a fan of challenging platformers, speedrunning, or excellent audiovisual presentation, you'll enjoy Tropical Freeze. It's a fun game to play cooperatively with a friend as well.